Welcome back for the third week of the Patons Crochet Sock Along. I've now worked my foot of my sock to the designated length of 5.5 inches for the small, and so now I'm going to create space for my afterthought heel. I'm ending after a right side round, so I'm starting on a wrong side round, so a solid single crochet round, and I'm working into each of the first 4 stitches for the small. You'll work into the first 5 for the medium or 6 for the large. I'm then going to skip 26 single crochets, and I'm going to mark the next stitch that I'm going to work into just to avoid twisting my chain after I've worked it, trying to search for that space. So I'm chaining 26 very loosely so that it's easy for me to work into these chain spaces in the subsequent round. For the medium, you will chain 28, and for the large, you'll chain 30. Again, I'm trying to keep just a light amount of tension to keep these chains nice and loose so they're not too challenging to work into in the next round. Once I've completed my chain of 26, I'm simply going to begin working into that marked stitch, and I'll work in single crochet for the remainder of the round. You'll want to make sure that your chain is pulled relatively taut to your work to avoid creating a gap. So now we can see the structure of the sock sort of really taking shape at this point, now that we've created a gap for the heel. Okay, so I'm just going to complete this round of single crochet. Okay, now that I've completed that round of single crochet, I'm working the cabled section of the round. So what I'm doing is, since we've just worked our foot of our sock to a designated length, you'll just keep the continuity of the cable pattern. Okay, I'm approaching my chained section. And what I'm doing here is just working into one loop of the chain. I will need to leave the other loop of the chain free for when I work my afterthought heel. So you're not working around the chain, you're just working into one loop of every chain space. So I'll be working 26 single crochet, 1 in each chain space. It'll be 28 for the medium and 30 for the large. So I'm going to continue along, working into each chain space until I've reached the other side of my sock. And then once I reach the end of the chain, I'm just going to continue my work as established normally. So I'm just going to work a single crochet into the next single crochet that appears right after that chain. And then I'll work into each of the next 3 stitches, join with a slip stitch, turn my work, and I'll proceed as established, just treating each of those single crochets as I was this bottom of my sock. So just working single crochets into that section and then maintaining the continuity of my cable pattern until my socks have reached the desired height. The leg of my sock is now the designated length, so I'm going to do a round to set up my ribbed cuff. So I'm ending after a right side row, and I've simply joined my work, chain 2, and I am continuing around without turning. So I've done a front post double crochet around the first post stitch. I'm working a half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. And around that next post stitch, I am going to insert my hook from right to left at the back of the work and work a double crochet around that. So I'm doing a back post stitch around that next post stitch, and I'm following it with a front post stitch. So I'm trying to sort of establish the pattern that will appear in these extant post stitches, and I'm creating some height with these half double crochets that I'm working in the single crochet, just to give you a bit more space to work your post stitches around. So I've done 2 more half double crochets, and I'm now on a back post double crochet around that next post stitch, and a front post around the next, followed up by another back post stitch, and I'm working a front post around that last post stitch in that little cluster of 4, 2 more half double crochets into one each into each of those single crochets from the previous round. And again, I'm going to pick up my pattern, so a back post double crochet around that next stitch, front post around the next post stitch, two more half double crochets, one in each of the next 2 single crochets, and then finally a back post double crochet around the front post double crochet of the previous round. And then for the remainder of this round, I'm simply working 1 half double crochet into each of the last single crochets of the round. Okay, I will see you at the end of the round. I've reached the end of my round. I'm joining with a slip stitch. I'm no longer turning though. I'm going to chain 2, front post double crochet around that first stitch, back post double crochet around the next HDC, front post around the next HDC, back post around the next back post stitch. So just alternating 1 front post double crochet with 1 back post double crochet. Some of these will be worked around half double crochets from the setup round, and some will be worked around post stitches. The post stitches, as you know, we've set up to already be in the pattern, so it should be a little bit easier for you to keep continuity. All right, front post double crochet around an existing post stitch, and a back post double crochet. And I'm just going to continue in this same manner for the entirety of the round. All right, I've reached the end of my first fully post-stitched round, and I'm simply joining, chaining 2, and continuing working one front post double crochet around one stitch and a back post around the next. Once you have all of your post stitches in place, the pattern becomes significantly easier to work, since you have those nice long posts to work around. All right, I'm going to continue in this manner for the remainder of the round. Once I have completed this round, I will work 2 more rounds in the same fashion. At the end of my final round, I will simply do a slip stitch join and fasten off. All right, I'm going to finish my cuff and I'll see you for the heel. All right, I've completed my ribbed cuff and I'm ready to rejoin my yarn to work the afterthought heel. I am going to join my yarn to the 14th unworked loop from my chain that I used to create the gap for the afterthought heel. I'm just joining that with a slip stitch, and then I'm going to work 1 single crochet into each of the unworked loops along that side of the cast on chain. So 13 single crochet, and then I'll pivot my work and I'm going to work along the single crochets I skipped when I was making my space for my afterthought heel. So I'm just working into the unworked loop from that starting chain. And this is why I implore you not to make your chains too tight, because they can get a little tricky to work into. So again, just working single crochets into those unworked loops. 1 single crochet for each loop from that cast on chain that we didn't work into previously for the leg of the sock. Once I've finished these 13 single crochets, I'm just going to pivot my work, as I said, and I'm going to just work 1 single crochet into each of those single crochets that I skipped when creating the heel gap. So I'm working 1 single crochet into each of these 26 skipped stitches from when I created the heel. Then once I've worked these 26 single crochets into the 26 existing single crochets, I'll pivot my work again and work into the unworked loop from the starting chain. And note your exact numbers will vary by size. Just refer to your written pattern for the numbers for your particular size. All right, I'm working into those unworked loops from the cast on chain. Working another 13 single crochet, I need to have 52 single crochet at the end of this round. And once I reach the end of my round, I'm simply joining with a slip stitch, chaining 1, and proceeding in the same direction. So this section is worked as continuous rounds, rather than the joined and turned rounds we worked for the most of the body of the sock. And what I'm doing in this round is I'm starting out by working 1 single crochet in the same space as the slip stitch, and 1 single crochet in each of the next 11 single crochets. Again, your numbers will vary by size. You'll be working 12 for the medium and 13 single crochet for the large. And now that I've worked my 11 single crochet, I'm going to single crochet 2 stitches together. So I'm going to work my first decrease. So inserting my hook, drawing up a loop, inserting my hook in the next stitch, drawing up a loop, and drawing through all the loops on my hook. For this round, I'm going to use just safety pins to mark my stitches, just because I'm working over a small area and my chubby little hands sometimes knock non-locking stitch markers out. So I'm just placing a pin in that stitch, and I'm going to do another single crochet 2 together. Now I'm just going to work even over the next 21 stitches. You'll work 23 single crochet for the medium and 25 for the large. Once I have completed my 21 single crochet, I'm going to follow the same pattern I set up at the opposite side of the heel. I'm going to work a decrease, work 1 stitch even, placing a marker on it, and then working another decrease. Okay, I'm working the first decrease on this side of my heel, working even into the next single crochet, which I will also place a pin on. All right, and now I'll work 1 more decrease. So at the end of this round, I should have a total stitch count of 48 stitches. If you're working the medium, you will have 52. For the large, you'll have 56. Okay, so I will work the rest of this round even. And once I've completed this round, I will do another full round even. So I'll see you in a couple of minutes. All right, at this point, I have finished my first decrease round, have worked 1 round even, and I'm now working my second decrease round. So luckily for me, there is less counting involved at this point since I've placed my markers. So for every decrease round from here forward, I'm simply going to work even until I'm 2 stitches before the next marked stitch. I'll single crochet those 2 stitches before the marked stitch together, remove the marker, work 1 single crochet in that stitch, replace the marker, and work 1 more decrease. And I'll repeat that once more again around the heel for that round. After this round, this decrease round, we will continue the same sequence over the next 4 rounds. So we will work the next round even, the next round as a decrease round, and then repeat that once more. When we've finished this sequence, we should have 40 stitches for the small, 44 for the medium, and 48 for the large. After this point, we're simply going to work every round as a decrease round, and we'll do that 5 times for the small and then 6 times for the medium and large, leaving us with 16 stitches for both the small and the medium and 20 stitches for the large. Okay, so I am embarking on my final decrease round, and I'm going to follow the established pattern of working even until I am 2 stitches before the next marker, working a decrease, working 1 single crochet in the marked stitch, and then working another decrease. Again, for the varying sizes, I'll have 16 single crochets remaining for the small and medium and 20 for the large. All right, I'm nearing the end of this round, so I'm simply going to do a slip stitch join. I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a tail to sew up that heel. And I'm just going to fasten off by drawing that tail through. Now, to sew up that heel, I'm going to turn my sock inside out. And I'm going to fold that heel horizontally. And because of the way we've worked those decreases, the heel kind of naturally wants to fall into place. I'm using a Susan Bates finishing needle here, which I love because they're super easy to thread. And once I've got that heel folded, I am going to match up pairs of single crochets and work through both sets of legs, working in a ladder stitch. So I'm making sure that I'm working through all 4 legs of those stitches, so 2 legs per stitch. So I'm just being very conscientious that I'm catching all of the loops with my ladder stitch. I usually leave trimming down my tail and weaving it in until I've blocked my socks. So I'm not going to worry about weaving that in just yet. All right, I've done all 8 pairs of stitches for my small size. And unless you count not having woven in ends as completed, I now have a completed sock. Thank you so much for joining me for this sock along. I'm looking forward to seeing all of your completed projects on social media, so please, if you post pictures, don't forget to hashtag Yarnspo. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.